What's up everybody? Welcome to the Average Joe Dividends YouTube channel. In this video, I'm going to go over all of the dividends that I received for the month of May. And I use M1 Finance as my stockbroker. It's really great for dividend portfolios. And let's just take a look here. I'm going to go into my portfolio. And let's just look at the last month and see the performance here. You can see we're pretty much even. For the last month. It's been up and down, as you can see here. Let's look at the last quarter. So we're just slightly up over the last quarter. Over the last year, up 4.84%. So what I'd like to do is just go into the activity area of my M1 account here, because I like to actually show the dividends as they came in. And I'm just going to go chronologically. With the first dividend was from General Mills, $2.39, then JP Morgan, $2.12, then Verizon, $7.30. And here Lowe's dividend, $2.30. And you can see here a deposit. I put in $200, my own money. And let's take a look at the trading. I did 13 buys for $215.08, so that $15.08 is the dividends being reinvested. I always reinvest my dividends. I don't spend them. I actually spend them to buy more stock here. So let's take a look and see what I bought. You can see Verizon. I'm just going to count the larger amounts. Pfizer, Aflac, Fifth Third, and Avista. Okay, so we got those buys. And then next up on May 9th, Air Products and Chemicals, $2.10. Apple, $1.28. Costco, $1.20. And on the 13th again, OHI, $14.04. O Realty, this is a monthly pair, very popular. REIT among dividend investors, $4.09. And here again, I put in our deposit $100. And the 408, that is dividends being reinvested. Let's see what I bought on May 13th, and I'm just going to read out the larger ones above $20. I got Apple and Microsoft were the two main ones I bought there. We'll go back to the activity log. And on the 16th, I got a dividend from Abbott Laboratories, $1.46, then AbbVie for $8.21, Hormel, $1.82, Procter & Gamble, $3.61. Here I put another deposit of $200 in. And the buys, 17 buys, $234.41 to $23.41 are the dividends being reinvested. And again, I'm just going to read the ones over $20. Starbucks, Fifth Third, and Prudential. And then Caterpillar on the May 20th, $3.13. I put another $100 in. Looks like my last deposit of the month, and 3 buys, $3.16 is the dividend snowball being reinvested. And you can see the Target was the primary buy here. There was one day I think Target went down like 25%, so that's why my allocation had to catch up, and Target had slipped back so far, so that's why it was bought. I let M1 do the picking for me, and it's by design. It takes the emotion out, and let's see here. So the last dividend was received May 27th, and it was Starbucks for $3.62. So that was my activity. I like to show the activity log, so I just want to show you guys the money. I just, so I'm not making anything up. You can actually see my portfolio and everything. And what I do is I also have a tracking sheet, and in the description below, I will put a link to the Google Sheet so you can actually see all the stocks in my portfolio. And here it is. I'm in the dividend portfolio tab. This shows the 60 companies that I have stock in. And we can just take a look. It's really simple. Company name, ticker, percentage that I have allocated with M1 Finance. And current share price, just use the real easy Google Finance function. The number of shares that I own, the current market value, my cost basis, and how I populate the shares and cost basis. I actually don't type that in. I just do a dump from M1 data. I just do a paste special. You can see here I've got directions for it. And all I do is go to my holdings, and you can do this with your M1 account, and you can just select everything in your account. If you want to use this sheet, and go down here and you just do a copy, and you just do a paste special, and you do values only. And what they'll do is copy it in, and this sheet automatically will take your shares and your cost basis. It's going to pull that data just using a VLOOKUP from that data tab. And it's going to populate the number of shares and cost basis. And you can see here, this is my gain loss with each investment. I'm up on some, I'm down on some. And I knew that going into it. And let's see here. So dividend per share, that's something I manually look up. And what I do is I usually go from, the top. I'll look up Honeywell, and I'll see if they've announced the new dividend date or if they've increased their dividend. And I'll put in the new dividend date. I always put it one day later because M1 takes one day to pay into your account. So I actually put the dividend date as when the cash hits my account. And here's the estimated dividend. This is just taking the number of shares times the dividend per share. You can see this. I keep track of all the dividends that, like for instance, Honeywell. You can see my first dividend from them was 73 cents, 78 cents, 91, $1.05. You see a trend here that it just keeps going up and up. You can see these with all of these stocks I own. You can take a look at them, and they just keep increasing because of all these 60 companies. I only pick companies that will increase their dividend, or at least hold it steady. OHI is an exception. That's Omega Healthcare. They've been static. I believe it's 67 cents for quite some time. Yeah, this amount here. So they pay such a high dividend. They haven't reduced it, but if they do reduce their dividend, I may cut them out of the portfolio. So that's one of the rules. I want to see companies that pay an ever increasing dividend. So let's move on to I have these color coded. So here's a key right here. You can see with the color key which months these represent. So we're in the second month of the quarter. We're in May, so I've highlighted that. That's 26% of my portfolio, and that's the medium green right here. So these are all the dividends I read off to you from M1, and I've put their amounts here, and we can see a sum of 58.67. That's what I got for the month of May. And what I do is I put this over into my tracking sheet. Let me change this over here. I copy the sheet over. Sometimes I have to refresh the values, or it gives a reference error. So let's see here. I put the 58.67 here is in May, and we can take a look at. Let's look at the trend here. You can see for January, that's the first, obviously the first month of the quarter. February is the second, and the third month of every quarter is usually, if you have a similar portfolio like this, when you have multiple companies, your third month is going to be your biggest. So the comparable month to May would be February. So you can see you've gone up almost $6. So it's always trending upward. And something I like to track too is the average monthly dividend. Not a lot of people talk about this. And let's take a look at from 2021. I started tracking this in May of 2021. I started tracking the whole portfolio in January 2021. But I think it's really important to track this because what you can see is sometimes the portfolio will dip when the portfolio is down. But if you track your average monthly dividend, as long as you're buying more shares of these companies and not selling them, you're reinvesting your dividends, the average monthly dividend is going to keep on rising. We would take a look at 2022. It just keeps trending up, up, up. And that's what we like to see. I track the month over month increase. You can see it looks like in March. Is that where I had the big... Yeah, I put in $2,000, and you can see my deposits. I'm tracking how much I'm putting in. That was a work bonus. That's why it's an anomaly there. And we can see I track dividends by quarter. Let's go back to 2021. We can see it's just trending upwards. It's never going down. But in 2022, you can see it's pretty lumpy. It was, it's going down, and up. Who knows where it's going to go. And let's take a look I want to show you in this sheet. This is something really, really important here, and this is I put in 5 dividend increases that were announced in May, and these are all 5 companies that are in my portfolio. So let's take a look at the first one. This was announced May 3rd. Pepsi raised their dividend by 7%, so it's up to $1.15 per share. Previous was 1.075. Leggett Platt, they increased their dividend by 5%. So they went from 42 cents to 44 cents per share. And America Tower, you can say, well, it was only 2%. But AMT raises their dividend every quarter. At least that's been their trend. So they raised it from $1.40 to $1.43. Let's take a look at Medtronic up next. On May 26th, they increased their dividend by 8%, so from 63 cents per share to 68 cents per share. And just recently, 3 days ago, Lowe's, they announced a 31%, actually 31.3% dividend increase from 80 cents to $1.05. And that's why a dividend growth investing is so powerful, because not only when you're putting your own money in, you're buying more shares, you're increasing your the amount of money you're going to be getting, but your cash flow is going up, but you're also getting dividend raises, and also if you're reinvesting your dividends, it's like 3 factors increasing it. So as I just want to show you guys just what happened in May. So stay tuned and watch the next video in June, because that one's going to be the biggest. That's the biggest payout of the quarter, the third. So let's see if we get over $100 in June. So that's all I got for you guys. I hope you had a good Memorial Day weekend, and take care.